Hey everyone, I'm Timur.
I'm Lucy.
And we have been fortunate enough to have a bunch of developers come through because it is GDC, and I'm excited to be joined by Sam and S, who are going to be talking to us about Phantom Blade.
Yeah,
which
Phantom
is
Blade
a
Zero. Yep.
very exciting character action game that I've had my eye on for a really long time. And you've been showing it off again. What are you showing off at the show?
Yeah, so at GDC, we are showing off the trailer boss from our January Year of the Snake trailer. A lot of players and media and fans and influencers have seen this trailer in January, and we're bringing the demo of this boss to GDC for some behind closed doors playtesting.
What's the kind of for people who might not be able to see what makes Phantom Blade unique to it, because obviously it's a very fast moving game. And unless you have the language, you might not understand what's going on. How would you describe it and make it identify it as distinct from others?
It's a very interesting topic because in the very beginning, everyone thought our game is a Souls-like game. So that's why we're showcasing our fast-paced and high-speed kung fu actions last year in the global demo tour. But it's not a Souls-like game, but it's not a hack and slash either. It's something we just combine different genres to make a playable kung fu movie, I would say. We just take the elements from different genres to create something new. And we stand two pillars for our game. One is we want to rediscover the golden age of old Chinese kung fu movies. Maybe starting from 1970s by Bruce Lee, but the trend is now a little bit fade out, and we want to get that back. And for games, we want to get back some of the vibes and game design philosophies in the era of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, when games were not so big, but well crafted. And the game is very coherent, and everything is put together as a very integrated system, and the style is so coherent, and we want to do something like that, but with nowadays technologies. So these two are our pillar in all the game development. But on the surface, we just borrow different elements from different genres, like the map explorations from a Souls game and the fast-paced combo-driven action from Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden, but maybe some narrative and vibes from like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, to combine all these things together to make a hopefully new games. And also I think that's a trend to merge different genres together.
Make something feel new and familiar at the same time. With the underlying purpose, like I said, of building this playable kung fu movie and bringing the pieces together to serve that purpose, not just mishmashing pieces together for the sake of it.
What's that process like? How do you know when something is working and it goes really well together with the rest of Phantom Blade Zero, and how do you know when something just doesn't work?
Yeah, so we brought our original demo on a global tour last year, starting at Summer Games Fest in June, and then around the world, and got lots of feedback. Over 12,000 players actually experienced the game during that time, and lots of positive feedback we were very humbled and grateful for. But also, when we were at Gamescom, we got some constructive feedback from core RPG players that we could push the challenge even further, that they would love to see an even more challenging difficulty mode. So when we hear feedback like that, we think, what can we do the S game way? And many times making a new difficulty mode means increasing the damage that the enemies might do or decreasing the health that the player might have. But for us, we developed a brand new difficulty mode. We're calling it the extreme mode, and it completely rewrote the enemy AI. We got rid of the combo-based patterns, and it feels much more like a PvP fighting game experience. It almost is a different kind of game, this new extreme mode, and we were able to go from Gamescom to Tokyo Game Show, from feedback to implementation in that basically 1 month period.
I was going to say, that's not a quick turnaround.
That's the way we're working. That's our special working culture. And also, it's also something we learn from mobile game or live service game, because we, as a Chinese studio, we have done this for a decade, working in mobile games. But even we shift to single player console game, but we still take something we learned from the mobile game development, which is always learn from your audiences, hear the group, the sound from the community, and make the fast adjustment, and then test again. That's what we have done pretty good last year.
Being very responsive, and it's carried through to this project.
And is that going to carry through to when you launch the full game? How do you anticipate balancing based on players at that point? Is it going to be, you know, these big patches that change things, or are these like kind of hot fixes that dial in on things?
First, we try to have the game as prepared as possible before we launch that. And then, of course, we always need to fix some bugs and try to adjust some systems and modify to balance some difficulties.
And that's why we wanted to get player feedback. One of the reasons we wanted to get player feedback last year, in addition to a lot of comments that the game was too good to be true. It was quick. When we showed off the first trailer, people thought that it was just going to be some kind of QuickTime event simulator. There's no way the game would actually play this way. So that was another reason we wanted to bring the demo out last year.
I remember when I played it for the first time, a previous demo, it was exactly what you said, where it was like, it starts off feeling like a Souls-like. And then it kind of like becomes a very different type of game. But I remember playing, because I play Souls-likes and I play character action games, so I know the Souls and Devil May Cry. And from my perspective, bringing those two brains together was very, very unique and different, because I'm like, applying the strategy of a Souls game, but requiring the execution of a Devil May Cry game. Do you anticipate that being something that a lot of people will vibe with and get on with?
I think that's what we're starting from, but there are tons of problems we need to resolve. So there are many paradoxes. Like in a Souls map, it's an intricate multi-layer map, which don't have very wide battlefield for you to do the very fancy combo. Because normally, if you play as a like Devil May Cry, you will need a huge battlefield to race to the air and whatever, doing fancy movements. So we have to get good balance between these two intricate map and a very fast and combo-driven,
very powerful, make the player feel very powerful, but also give them the right challenge.
We have to find a balance point.
Well, on that, you set up the demo for me, and I was playing a little bit before we came in here, and you asked me what is my experience with character action games, and I said, I'm not that good. But you also said it's a lot more approachable. And so how are you walking that line to make sure that it's, difficulty is not going to turn players away?
Yeah, I think accessibility is a huge component for us with Phantom Blade Zero. We have multiple difficulty options. There's going to be a story mode for someone who's never played an action game ever in their life, and they can still experience our Kung Fu Punk world and this incredibly fluid, authentic combat that we're bringing from the history of Chinese martial arts. But then for the players who want the most challenge possible, there's the extreme mode, and there will be other runs you can do in New Game Plus and other runs after you've completed the game that will restrict player resources, provide additional challenges. There's a lot of meat to the game after the fact for those players as well that want that additional challenge.
An average Souls game, they usually have one difficulty, maybe too difficult for the starters, but not so difficult for the experienced players. So what we're doing is we have a story mode, which is way easier than an average Souls game for starters. And we have extreme mode, and we have other challenge modes that will have not only increase the stats of the enemy, but also different in game mechanics and also other resource restriction and other things to make the game good for the speedrunners and experienced experts to play over time.
We're seeing a lot of that, with user content creation from these types of games in the past, and maybe providing that for them instead of them having to figure it out for themselves. Giving them these challenges that they love and they love to make content about.
We both do. We watch a lot of those. So I'm excited.
So that would be cool. One of the things that perhaps people might not get a good grasp of because it's very action focused in a lot of the videos is like character progression and evolving, like, putting points in things. And can you speak a bit about how that works in your game?
Yeah, so we haven't revealed too much of that yet, but we are definitely an action RPG. We're not purely a hack and slash game, and we can see why people might think that. We've been delivering just the combat to this point, but we are very much an action RPG. There are many RPG systems in development for the game. You're going to be able to improve your stats, your resistances, unlock new traversal mechanics, equipment. There's a lot of RPG mechanics that we will be including in the game. but they're all still in development at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, there are tons of side quests that will influence the ending. There are also multiple endings. So it's very RPG driven.
So that New Game Plus, multiple ways to incentivize people to play multiple times.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for coming down. Do we have any word on a release date?
We haven't decided the exact release date yet, but we'll release the release date.
We'll release the release date.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you again very soon.